Once upon a time, there was a great cedar forest, and all the trees had been cut down, except 2 trees were left, Grandmother Cedar and her granddaughter, Little Cedar. And Little Cedar couldn't see Grandmother because she was behind her, and she called out, "Is anybody out there? Is anybody out there?" And Grandmother heard her little voice and said, "Yes, I'm here, little one. Grandmother Cedar, I'm here with you." "Grandmother, all of our family are gone. What must we do now?" And Grandmother said to her, "We must all hold on by our roots together as one tree of life." And I find this story really appropriate for the time we're living in, because our great family has been sort of dismembered or scattered, and we are being called together again to hold on together with our roots, all of us, and not just humans, but all species, to come together as one family to hold on by our roots, because that one tree of life will stand the tsunami of change that is upon us. So this, I wanted to start with that. I'm going to start my PowerPoint presentation now. Thank you, Jamin. So art as a vehicle for transformation. The first thing we need to do is know who we are. When I went to Delphi, which is in Greece, there is a temple where the oracles lived. And before you could enter the temple to speak with the oracles, to know something more about what was to come, above there was a gateway, and above it it said in Greek, "Know thyself." And I think, again, we are being called inward. So the virus, the smoke on the West Coast, many things are calling us to go within and to begin to reflect and to really question, who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose? So this is an artwork I made a while ago. It's called the Cabinet of Curiosities, and that phrase came to me: know thyself. The project was I am who I am. And I really had to think about that. Well, who am I? And what I found was I am in relationship. And this is what this artwork is about. It's about being in relationship with the world around us. So we'll start with the earth. Of course, we are made from the earth. We inhabit the earth, and we are learning to come back into right relationship with the earth. And this is a slide that of the great cedar forest that is its own ecosystem. So many of you who may have been to a old growth forest will know that the nurse logs still have a life even after they've fulfilled their living life as a growing tree, and they become nurse logs for those little baby trees. Relationship. So I love this slide because this really shows species interrelating. You know, I would never have thought about a hummingbird, you know, sharing water from a fountain with honeybees. And I think this is a beautiful reminder that we can, as humans, coexist with all species on the planet to restore balance. My journey, and I want to talk about my journey as a way to inspire all of you to really look at your own personal journeys and think about connection, and think about how you yourselves can become vehicles for transformation and vehicles to bring change here with your own unique gifts and your own brilliance or genius. So my journey began with observing nature. And I believe that that is the way back, that we need to get back in touch with our emotions. And observation allows us to contemplate. So I started observing nature, the patterns, the forms, the colors, the relationships of this incredibly beautiful world that exists around us. Sorry. And this began to inform my work. So this is a little bit out of place, but this is a public art project I just finished. Stories are words, stories are worlds. And I put that in there just to remind us that stories are whole worlds and that we're living in a great story of called life. So through observation, I started to come into an emotional connection with the world around me. And I started to observe what was going on. And I started to notice bird life and the insect life. And that over time led me to understand that these species are actually not thriving. And what could I do to be a part of expressing that and bringing change around that? And so I started to make these artworks, and I started to put them out into the world in many forms, in exhibitions, but also as greeting cards. And on the back of the greeting cards, it said endangered species. So that was me stepping out and saying, you know, I need to speak out for this. And the money raised by selling the cards, I started to help fund organizations like the Nature Conservancy and the Environmental Defense Fund. Another aspect of the work is arts education. So this is one of my preschool students, and we talked about relating to birds and the life of birds, and the children really get it. So here, this student has put his bird into a nest with the eggs. I just love this. I think it's so spontaneous, and it really shows that connection children still have with spirit and the natural world. So now I want to move on to water. And water actually flows through all of life and all of us, and it's a connecting element. And water flows through all of my work as well. So here is the first canoe that I worked on with Sadutz, who is the Haida master canoe carver. And these canoes were built with children. It took about 3 years to build a canoe. And they were then gifted to different tribes up and down the coast. And this one is the children who worked on it are paddling it into Alaska to gift it to the tribe. It was the first time in about 300 years that cedar canoe had come through these waters, and people turned up in the dozens and cried on the beach, because this is an important move towards helping restore traditions, very ancient traditions, to Northwest coastal peoples who have suffered greatly at the hands of colonizing powers. Through observation, and we come to contemplation, and something starts to awaken. We start to realize our connection with the world around us, and then we can start to turn our attention on that and place our intention on that, and then the world starts to talk back. And I had an amazing experience with this lily pond, where, because I had fallen into such a deep state of contemplation when I was here observing and connecting, the animals and the plants started to converse back to me and started to fill me with all kinds of information. So I had a terrapin, which is a large turtle, that came out of the water and sat next to me, and butterflies and dragonflies came and buzzed around me. And this really further deepened my connection with my art. This is an artwork that came as a result of that connection with the nature around me. So We have observation, which brings us in touch with nature. We then start to contemplate it. It then awakens something in us. And the awakening brings us connection. The connection and awakening bring us into to understanding the balance in nature and the imbalance that mankind, humankind, is created on this planet. So I then took a next step where I started looking at larger animals, and in this case, elephants. I have a real deep love for elephants. They're very intelligent creatures, very wise, and they also, interestingly, are responsible for planting forests, because when they eat the seeds, well, the fruits and nuts off trees, when they poop, the seeds are actually encased in like a fertilizer, which is the poop, the dung, and that goes into the ground and actually starts new life. So I find that really fascinating, that these creatures, often when we look at them, we think that they are being destructive when actually they're being very constructive. So this piece is called Hanging in the Balance, because the life of elephants is very much, as well as many larger wildlife species, are hanging in the balance. And I, at this time in my life, thought it's not enough just to comment about what is happening on the planet. I actually want to take an action that will make a change. And so when this piece was sold, it was in a show at Museo Gallery here in Langley on Whidbey, I actually took the money and fostered a baby elephant. And the baby elephant is here. His name is Ndoto, which means to dream in Swahili. And he's part of an orphanage of the David Sheldrick Foundation in Kenya, which is a really wonderful foundation that rescue orphaned elephants and other animals like baby giraffes and rhinoceros that have lost their parents due to horrific things, whether it's poaching, they just get lost, they fall into wells, etc. Now we'll move on to air. And this is another body of work that I'm also have been spending a lot of time on, which are pollinators, because pollinators are also having a very hard time. And these little magical creatures, monarch butterflies, which start out in Mexico, fly thousands of miles up to Canada. And it's not actually one butterfly that makes that whole trip. The one butterfly is actually three. There's a power butterfly that then, once the second butterfly's made it to Canada, it's called a power butterfly. It actually has bigger wings and it powers itself back down to Mexico unbelievably. And these creatures are able to locate roosts, butterfly roosts, that they have never seen before. I can't even hardly find my keys in the morning, and these are made of paper, and they find their way thousands of miles to a tree that they've never seen before. So I've done a lot of work around pollinators, again, to raise the consciousness. And this brings me into how we make marks on the planet. This installation is made out of brown paper shopping bags and offcuts of wallpaper that someone donated to me, or that I had from previous years when I ran a decorative painting company. And so I use a lot of materials that are upcycled in order to not keep consuming more materials. And amazingly, this commission was to make this ephemeral paper, upcycled brown paper bag art in an elevator lobby in a very high-end, beautiful building in Seattle. Observation again. The butterfly really tried to look at things that I'm exploring from all the different aspects. And when you look at butterfly wings underneath a microscope, the wing is actually made of tiny little scales, thousands of them. And each one has a particular color that make up the patterns. And I found this very fascinating, and was part of a big public, I started getting into public art installations because I wanted to have a bigger impact and a bigger audience. And I created this installation, which was inspired by butterfly wings seen under a microscope. This was for Shunpike, which is a storefront program in Seattle. And this window was in one of the Amazon shopfront windows in downtown Seattle, south end of Seattle, sorry, Lake Union area in Seattle. And again, it's made entirely of brown paper bags and that I painted, hand painted, and upcycled wallpapers. Sorry, I'm talking about connection again. So through observation and watching honeybees, I was really fascinated by bee culture. I'm going to call it a bee culture, and bee communities and how they live together in a colony. Really fascinating when you start to delve into the behavior of bees, that all decisions are made as a group. It is not the queen that makes decisions for the hive. It's the entire hive that communicate with one another and then make decisions together. And in this dancing, they dance in order to communicate with each other. And they may have 3 proposed solutions to a problem, and they together somehow find the right solution for the whole of the colony. I won a grant to work with honeybees and found a beekeeper on Whidbey Island who was gracious enough to let me work with his honeybees. This was a very short project because I didn't want to take honey and comb energy from these bees. But I made these small artworks that were placed into the hive, and the honeybees went to work on them. What was really fascinating is I was able to observe what is called biomimicry. And this is when nature mimics something, and they actually mimic the shapes that I had collaged onto the paper. So you can kind of see here the legs of the bee and the wings that are, hi Obi, welcome. These are other installations I've done because I started to look at, so the bee project really led me to explore how as humans do our marks impact nature. And I wanted to create a body of work where the art didn't destroy or pollute in any way. And so for about a year, I made installations that were made entirely out of birdseed and baking flour. And this is one of them. And it was quite fascinating because I did these outside on the roads and on pavements, and the animals would come and interact, obviously, because the birds could come and eat the bird seed. And then the artwork would be transformed entirely. So you can see where it's blue at the top, the bird seed's been removed, and yellow at the bottom, the bird seed is still there. These are, I started getting into much bigger installations now. Water came to me and started to flow into my life and asked me to be a spokesperson for itself. And this is one of the first installations I did around water, and it was really about how all of life is interconnected through water, and that water is what sustains life. So here we have the salmon and the bear is made out of junk food wrappers, which was intentional because I wanted to show that our human habitation does have an impact on water and on nature again, but I've said it in a very subtle way. This is another installation I did in Seattle on water, and this is called Kwa'u, which in Coast Salish means water. And it's a sacred meditation on water. This is made out of Tyvek, which is a really great material because you can put it outside. And what I love about public art is that it's a really wonderful way to bring community together. So this is my Haida and Tlingit family members, Brandon and his mother, Kara. And they came and performed at the opening ceremony and then we had a lot of people from the neighborhood who joined us. So So I'm very interested in using art as a way to connect people and to bring diverse cultures together in community to talk about issues that are affecting all of us. So one of my favorite species are the orca whales, and I'm very happy to announce, as many of you might already know, that Tahlequah, who lost her baby in 2018 due to lack of food, she had a new baby this year, and the baby survived and is doing well, I believe. So in fact, we've had a number of births in the southern resident pod this summer, so that's really exciting news. And these are species I've focused on a lot, and worked on a collaborative project with a friend of mine, Lauren Atkinson. We invited the community on Whidbey Island to come together on a beach at a specific time and specific day at low tide. And everyone was asked to dress in black and bring an umbrella, a black umbrella or a white umbrella. And we created this orca whale out of our bodies. It was an activism project to ask our governor, Jay Inslee, to take the dams down off the Snake River in order to restore the salmon runs. And it was quite a cold, drizzly day, but people turned up, God bless them, with their children. So here they are getting ready. So again, this is something wonderful that art can do. It can bring community together around important issues, and we can have fun doing it at the same time. The other project that sprang from the plight of the orca was my Chinook salmon. So actually behind Jamin here is an installation that I've been working on, and it keeps growing and morphing. And these are large Chinook salmon. Here's my nephew, my nephew working on a Chinook salmon. And these are all made out of natural materials. So you can see caning and wax and fabric. And then we've used these again in community. So this is the Langley Whale Parade, where the salmon were paraded to transmit this message about restoring the salmon for the orca. It was a collaborative project run with youth and my friend Molly Brown, who helped me make these salmon. They're take a long time to make. And these salmon keep swimming around the state in different venues. So this is at Luminata Festival in Seattle, Green Lake last year, which Jamin and I connected with the 350s.org. And we built this installation for them and with them. Public art. This is more public art. I really love this vehicle to get this message out. This piece was inspired by a creation myth, which really describes the time we're going through now. And if you look in the center of the piece, you'll see a little lady here. She's weaving the tapestry of the new world. And the quote above is from a Zen Buddhist master, where he's quoted, "Plant and animal life is as precious as human life." And the story of this piece is that Mother Gaia lives in a cave, and every 3,000 years, as she's weaving the tapestry of life, she has to get up and go to the back of the cave and stir a giant cauldron of seeds and roots for new growth. And as she goes to the back of the cave, she has this big black dog who lives with her, and the dog goes up to her tapestry and tears it apart. And she comes back and she goes, "Bad dog, what have you done to my tapestry?" And she goes, "Oh, well." And she sits down at her loom and she rethreads it, and she starts weaving a new tapestry of life, even more beautiful than the one she had worked on before. And this story is the story we're living through now. Everything is falling apart. We're witnessing everything going awry. Nothing is as we knew it once. And the threads of each one of our lives is being threaded together to create this new tapestry of life. And this brings us back to connection again. this is an experience I had in Mexico with Alice and Enzo. And Jamin and I rescued a baby eaglet a couple of years ago. And when we told the reserve director, who's on my left in the green shirt there, this story, he asked me if I'd like to hold one of his birds. And I got to pick one out. This is the one that called to me. So very kindly, he let me hold this bird, which was a very intimidating experience, actually, to be so close to a bird of prey. And he kept stroking it here and saying, "Be nice now, be nice." So here we are in the Northwest with all these fires going on and a lot of smoke. And this piece was made in 2017 when we had also a lot of fires here in Washington State. And I was very perturbed by this. And this piece came out of that experience. And this piece is called The Tree of Life. And it's about the breath that we share with the trees. And so it's a reminder that we need to plant trees again and start to restore natural habitats in order to have balance again in our lives. Fire. So I'm going to end this conversation on fire. This is a collaborative project. So I'm doing mainly collaborative projects now, where we're bringing many voices together in collaboration, which is creating these very powerful installations. Gillian Theus and I created an exhibit together last year, pre-COVID. And this piece is called "We've Made Our Beds, ... And the symbols on the pillows are the Morse code for "Save Our Ship, ... And when I looked at this again in March, when COVID really hit here in the Northwest, I was shocked, because these are hospital beds. And that often happens with artists, is that our work intuits what is coming. And our role now, using this intuitive process, I believe, is to help to open conversations in order to bring healing and to bring awareness to issues and finding solutions. This is another part of our exhibit, Vote for the Planet. So instead of voting for presidents, we need to all be turning our attention to the planet and voting for the planet. How are we going to save life on Earth? And this brings us to my wonderful partner, Jamin Shively, who has been out there all around the United States, dressed as Darth Vader, opening up the conversation about climate change and which side are you on. Relationship. So the way forward that I see is by us coming into connection with our emotional body again, having empathy, seeing that we are one family, and restoring relationship. This is a family of raccoons that we are in relationship with, that we put bath water out for, drinking water, food, and this is her baby. And when we can, as humans, relate to wildlife again, and they don't have to feel threatened by us, when we restore the natural habitats, when we restore our own relationship to ourselves and start that healing process, we get this. Chill zone. Yep, they're having a nap, the whole family. Mama and her 3 babies. So let's all get into the conversation together and join the conversation so that we can use conversation as a verb. That means in action. You know, let's take right action to implement solutions that we can find together in conversation in order to restore this beautiful planet, which we all need for our, not just our survival, but we all need to be able to thrive now, not just survive. So I've put here on this information, Jamin's site for joining the conversation.cc. And if you want to check out more on my work, you can go to my website, which is melissakochfinearts.com. So that's the end of my presentation. So you want to, and now I'll open up the conversation if any of you would like to jump in and ask any questions or comments, or just give me your feedback. Tell us who you are and why you're here. Obi's on mute. You are on mute, You're baby.
On mute, Obi. You have to unmute.
And Obi is my oldest friend. Obi, you're on mute, darling. You're on mute, Obi.
Obi, your microphone. Obi, your microphone is muted. You have to click unmute. There you go.
Okay, here I go. Thank you, Jamin. As you can see, I'm not really used to this. And Melly, you've caught me in my pajamas as usual. That was really, really awesome. You know, thank you. It's very inspirational. The work is breathtaking, Melissa, and the scope of it. I love the way you've ended it with solutions, not just talking about the work, but the way forward. And all I can say is, way to go, Melly. Yeah.
Obi, we love you.
Oh,
Obi.
We miss you. Bravo, Melissa. Bravo, Obi. Bravo, Isis. Bravo, Pushkara. All of you who I don't know, I love to see and hear more on what you do. And what an honor to be here all together with these incredible activists. In this case, mainly women, some incredible men also present with us. Doing incredible work for this planet. And Mother, I love you, and I know I'm going to just send a blessing to all of our mothers and Mother Earth and our fathers, Father Sky. Thank you so much. Beautiful work, really incredible. So good to see everybody.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Melissa.
Isis, te escuchamos, Isis.
Gracias, Isis. Oh, thank you, Isis. Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't know. That's
what's happening here. I can't hear.
That's hilarious. I was just saying thank you, Obi, for raising that, what you just said, because it's not about our egos anymore. It cannot be. And we've come through this stage of being in the caterpillar phase where we're all about us and we're just eating everything. But the COVID and now smoke in the California, Washington, Oregon area, it's asked us to go inside. So we're like, the caterpillar stage is done. We're now in a chrysalis. And we're asked to look within now. Who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What is life all about? And so we're getting out of the I ego and going into the we wellness. And so what I'm finding personally, and I'm sure many of you are as well, is that it's what makes sense now and what feels good is working together. It's collaboration. It's no longer the ego. So I didn't want my presentation to be focused on me and my work. I wanted it to be the work as inspiration, the work as a conversation, the work as a process that leads us all together into conversation and action, finding solutions. And I woke up this morning, it's funny because Jamin and I both woke up with the same idea. I'm going to call it an idea or inspiration, is that because I'm asking myself, well, what is the next art form that I can do now that makes sense?
You've done everything.
It's the conversation. That's the next art form. It's the conversation, which is why we're all here. We are co-creators of this new art form right here on all these platforms called solutions. We can't just talk about what's going wrong. We have to be the solutions now.
Mhm.
countries.
And I love it because here we are, all these generations, all these different nationalities. Obi is from Nigeria originally. She's my best friend. I've known her since she was 17. We were architects together. We've done all kinds of cool projects together. And Obi's father is Christopher Okibo. You can look him up. Was an amazing poet, Nigerian poet. And Obi has created well, he already has a legacy of work, but she's rebirthed that legacy. Maybe Obi, you want to say something about that because it's a phenomenal project you're working on.
Um, um, yes, I can say, yeah, because it relates also to what you're talking about transmission. And it's been very, very rewarding because I didn't know I was too young when he died. I was 2 years old. And so not only has it been a personal encounter with my father through his poetry, but then it's opened me to this world of wanting to do something that is more than just my personal work. And I'm working on legacy, working on promoting creation and creativity as not a luxury, but as something that is fundamental to human species. And so that's what I'm doing. So we've published his work in English, in Spanish, and now in French. And working now with young poets in all over Africa through prizes and open calls to poetry. So that's where we are now. So thank you, Melissa.
Fantastic, Obi. Congratulations. And I think I mentioned earlier that Alice and Enzo, who are in Mexico, Isis is Enzo's mother, and she ran a wonderful place in Mexico City called the Calderia, which maybe Isis, you can talk about that if you want to. And Alice and Enzo and Pushkara and I and Pushkara's son have just finished working on a music video together, which you can actually see. There'll be conversation and presentation tomorrow again on this Trello platform about that.
Okay.
Wonderful work.
Thank you, Isis. Wow. Well, I guess, well, we're almost out of time, but Maya, did you have something to say?
Well, I am so moved. You are such a weaver. I call you a weaver. You're weaving together so many worlds. And I've always held, we need the arts to open people's hearts because they can hear all this information and about, the species going extinct and all, and it just overwhelms people. It goes to their heads and you can't deal with it. But when it comes to the heart and they feel pulled, and to me, that's what art does. And you are weaving storytelling and visual arts and tactile, and also the idea of recycling or upcycling materials. There's so many pieces to what you're doing. I'm very, very impressed and touched. And I also, something you said when you typed the beds, we've made our beds installation, that I have also noticed. I'm a poet and a playwright. I used to be a dancer or performance artist when I was a little younger, but how many times I've written something and then, it unfolds a year or 2 or 3 later, that I understand, as artists, we're the ones who are able to tap into the unified field of all, the knowing field, call it the Akashic, other things. And sometimes it comes through in a very prophetic way. So it's so important because we're like the early warning system also for.
Totally.
Yes.
And there is synchronicity in operation as well. Like when we slow down and we open up and start to come into conversation with the world around us, things turn up. you guys, I'm sure you've all experienced that synchronicity. And one of the things, Gil's here actually, so I'm glad maybe she'll jump in and say something as well about the experience. But when we were hanging that piece with the beds, there were originally, I think, 30 beds or something. When we hung it, we came back the next morning to finish installing the exhibit. That piece fell off the wall and the beds were crashed in a pile on the floor. And we just went, oh, we couldn't believe it. And we couldn't understand, well, what is this trying to say to us? What is the message here? And now I get it in hindsight, having lived, living at this time. It's like, something's up. Something major is coming.
Yes, yeah. Oh, scary.
For reminding us that the unraveling is to make room for the new tapestry. That was so beautifully spoken and shown. Some days it can get us down, watching
Right.
the unraveling of the ecosystem and the species disappearing.
Yeah.
Knowing
Right.
that this
Right.
is,
And it's the other thing that, I think one of the things that's coming to me now is to be present for each other at this time. And I'm reminding my friends, if you need me to be present with you to process something, to grieve something, to feel something together, I am available. And I think we all need to be connected this way to one another, because it's heavy duty stuff we're going through.
Yeah.
How do you say me uno a ti?
I join you. I join with you.
Yeah.
I join with you. I agree with you. Think way with you feelings.
Yes.
We really need work together.
Yeah. Thank you, Isis. Absolutely.
I am with you wherever you want, in every time, whatever.
Yes.
Who needs me?
Beautiful, Isis. Beautiful. I'd like to read something that actually Chief Self was quoted having said, and some of you may have read this, but it's a good reminder about what we need to remember that we have forgotten. We know that the white man does not understand our ways. One portion of the land is the same to him as the next. He takes from the land whatever he needs. The earth is not his brother, but his enemy. And when he conquers it, he moves on. And I remember once, I used to run a decorative painting company, and one of the interior designers I worked for, we were going up north to around Simiamu area, and she said to me, it's just terrible. I can't find any more product anymore. And I was so shocked. And I said to her, no, the land is not product. The land is a living thing. It's a living being. And I think that's really important for us to all remember, that everything has including us, every species is unique. There's only one of any species or any of us in the universe ever, in an infinite space of time. We only come here once, and it's so incredible that this convergence of whatever that life force is that brings into existence Obio Kibo or Isis Iturga and Alice de Vrangel and Pushkara Sally Ashworth and all of us and all the species, and that the land is not the same. One portion of land is not the same. And what I love about what you're doing in the 4 elements and the water convergence is you're reminding us that water is a living being, that air is alive, that the earth is alive, And I think
Here's another invite to this meeting. He's Josias. He's Dominican. And he is a film director.
Beautiful. Hola, ¿qué tal?
Mucho gusto.
Bienvenido.
¿Qué onda, hermano? ¿Cómo estás?
Enzo, ¿cómo estás?
Jamin would love to share something. I'm going to just pass the mic over to him because he's very active and doing some amazing work So yeah, he's going to share something with us just as before we close.
Thank you, sweetheart. And I wasn't actually planning on sharing this, but based on what you shared, sweetheart, about this new medium that we're creating, you know, what is the new medium? What is the new art form? So this is an example. I gave this presentation yesterday for the first time on Up Convergence, but it's an example of this new art form that we're doing, which is both informative, very passionate. It's, you know, it's kind of like visual poetry combined with filmmaking, combined with presentation. Anyway, it's just this big mashup. So I just want to give you all an accelerated, maybe 2 or 3 minute just dose of it, right? So fasten your seatbelts because it includes some shock therapy. It's some shocking stuff, right? No es para niños chiquitos. So here we go. All right. So anyway, the presentation gets into food healers of Whidbey Island, feeding people, but we started with a context. The context is, wait a second, well, where are we? We got to start with where we are. And where we are is we are in a losing football game. Okay, it's going very badly for us. Why? Because the temperature is spiking. You know, this is on a scale of decades. Look at it on a scale of centuries, and whoa. We are spiking up towards the top so fast. And it's going to kill us if we don't stop it. That's the reality. We're losing the football game, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And there's only one thing that can save us now, and it's not him. This is the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. But if you want to learn more about the exponential planetary overheating, talk to Guy McPherson. Check out his website. Just go to YouTube and type in his name. Plenty of stuff there. So back to the spike, and he's identified no fewer than 67 self-reinforcing feedback loops that are driving this spike. There's one thing that can stop it, and it's Monty Python. It's the Monty Python foot. We need to stomp on that spike, and we need to stomp on it hard, and we need to stomp on it now. We're not going to get there from here by wishing it away or praying or meditating or levitating or, you know touch-free massage. No. We need the big guns. We need the big foot to stomp on the spike. Got it? Ouch. Okay. So what does that look like? Well, here it is. It's solar radiation management, reflecting sunlight back into space. That's the only way that we can cool the planet now in time. If this were 1960, it'd be a whole different conversation, right? We have the technology. Between the Harvard project, right? Led by Dr. Ye Tao, massive arrays of floating mirrors to reflect sunlight back into space. Boom! That's part of the stomping. That's part of the foot. Then we got the geeks in the Silicon Valley coming at it with ICE 9/11, a Silicon Valley moonshot aimed at mitigating climate change by restoring ice in the Arctic. How? By sprinkling fine white silica powder, totally inert, totally harmless. It's sand, but superfine white sand to reflect sunlight back into space and also create a thermal barrier. Then I've come up with a couple solutions. One is sort of a hybrid between those two, which say, hey, that's great for restoring the ice that's currently there, but how do we replace the ice that's melted away, which is now dark blue ocean seawater absorbing sunlight? That's one of the 67 self-reinforcing feedback loops. The answer is ping pong balls, but not made of plastic in China, made of the same silica powder, but through an industrial popcorn process, just pop it into ping pong balls, float it, contained by oil booms. Again, we have the technology. Between the Harvard project, the Stanford project, and the ping pong project, we got it. But there's more good news. There's a changing of the guard. Which guard? The Brits? What happened? Another Brexit? No. It's a changing of the guards of the elephants in the room. Well, which elephants? There's not just one elephant in the room. There's a whole herd of elephants in the room. And they're changing. What? Well, first let's talk about the old elephants. The old elephants are the world problems. A year ago, nobody was talking about exponential climate change or sea level rise, pandemic. No. It was not it was just onward and upward. Make money, build, destroy, whatever. Okay, so they used to be the elephants in the room, but now everyone's talking about them all of a sudden. Suddenly, what happened? Well, suddenly it's on the front page of the New York Times. They're not silent little elephants in the room. So if everyone's talking about the old elephants, who are the new elephants? The new elephants in the room are not the problems, they're solutions. The new elephants in the room, oh, they're cute. The new little baby elephants in the room are solutions. We're not talking about the solutions. We're avoiding talking about the solutions. Why? Because when we hear about solutions that we can actually implement, we hear this. Da, 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 da. Wake up at 5 in the morning. Who wants that? Who wants more duty and responsibility? Screw that. I want Netflix and weed. So what do? Well, do we do like, I don't know, a confrontation? You know, an intervention? You know, that's what Extinction Rebellion's doing. And, you know, how's that working out? Well, it's waking up a few people, but it's not happening fast enough. What if we found a more gentle on-ramp to the conversation? And here's an inspiration, a personal friend, Rick Steves, who many of you know as the travel guy. Well, he also put out a call years ago saying, marijuana, it's time for a conversation. And that's what brought me in. And then the student surpassed the master. I invited former Mexican President Vicente Fox, and we blew the roof off with a press conference in Seattle, a 4-stop international tour culminating in a 3-day symposium in 2013 that changed the course of history. So yes, we can do it. And anyway, it goes on and on, but that's just an example. This is a taste of this new medium, this new art form that Melissa's talking about, right? It combines all these other elements and says, whoa, we got to get serious. We got to get straight with each other, and we got to deal with this. So thank you, Melissa, for the opportunity. Thank you all for listening. Back to you, sweetheart.
Thank you, Jamin, so much. So I wanted to end this conversation with two more quotes. This one is by Elmer Green, and he wrote, "It seems that increasingly certain that healing and creativity are different parts of a single picture." And the other is Margaret Mead, whose work I love, and some of you are going to know this one. This is pretty famous. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens," I change that word out and put people, "can change the world indeed. It is the only thing that ever has." So here we are, a small group of thoughtful, committed people, determined through our actions and conversations to find solutions. And so I want to thank the Convergence team for all of you who are hosting this and organize this, all the hours of work that went into this, and especially John Raymer, this is his dream child, I believe. Thank you guys for inviting me to be part of this. And thank you everyone who is here attending and being part of this conversation. Keep coming back. Let's keep getting together and working together and playing together and, you know, being love in action.
Thank you,
Oh,
Melissa.
thank you.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to meet
Thank you.
everybody. Yeah, really nice
So
to
good
meet
to
you.
see you all.
Be nice to meet you.
Yes. Oh, have a lovely evening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you for being here, Obi.
Ciao, Melissa.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
Jamin. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Alice.
Bye, Jamin.
See you soon.
Okay, see you.
Thank you, Maya.
Mwah.
It's a great host.
Bless you, darling. Bye.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful presentation. So I recorded it, but we were live streamed, so it will automatically be posted on our Four Elements Trello board, and
Beautiful.
and also on the Facebook page for Peace Weekend.
Awesome.
There, and thank you for bringing your beautiful tribe from Mexico and Nigeria.
And Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Yeah, see. Absolutely. And make sure you all see You Look Up. It will be.
Will do.
You'll be able to see it tomorrow. And we could put the links in the chat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll put the links in the chat for that. Jamin, thank God I have my tech expert here.
Yeah.
And lost in space without him.
What would we do without our men? Ciao, everyone.
Ciao, Isis. Gracias.
Gracias
Ciao.
a ti. Ciao.
Ciao. Mwah.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Obi, if you go, if everyone goes to the chat,
Te queremos.
there are 2 links in the chat. If you want to cut and copy those and paste them into your emails, you can see the interview of about the making of the video and also the music video premiere. That's in the chat. You just have to cut and paste, as I said, and put it into your email and then send it to yourself, and then you can watch it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay then. Ciao, ciao. Mwah.
Hasta luego.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Te queremos.
Ciao.